everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are doing the favorite book series tag, which I'm excited about because I love tags. I plan to do all the tags because I don't know why, I just really like them and I like to watch other people do them. So yeah, hope you guys like that too, because I'm going to be doing a lot of tags on this channel. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, then please feel free to do so, or give me a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. I am new to the BookTube, AuthorTube world, so all the likes and comments that I can get help other people find my channel. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far, and for those of you who have been commenting, I really appreciate the support as I switch over to new content. So, favorite book series tag. This is actually a tag that I created back in 2013, and there are lots of versions of the favorite book series tag. If you search on YouTube, there's a favorite completed book series tag, top 5 favorite series tag. There's like all kinds of favorite book series tags, but this particular one is the one that I did way back in the day. And before we start jumping into the tag, I'm going to give you some backstory, and this is going to probably be a little bit of a longer video. So if you don't like longer videos, just prepare yourself because it will probably be a longer video. But for you youngins out there who may not know this, back in the day, YouTube used to actually let you tag yourself to someone else's video. That's how YouTube tags became a thing. So you would record a video with questions or, whatever your tag would be about, and you would say, I tag so-and-so, and you could literally tag them, or people could tag themselves to your video. So like if my video was up on the screen, you would see all these other people on the sidebar who either I had tagged or had tagged themselves to the video. That's why it was called a tag. And back when I made this one, it was really fun, and there were lots of people who did it with me, and it was really fun and exciting. But then of course I deleted my video when I deleted all my old content. So I tried to search for a few videos that may still exist. I found a couple, but probably the best one I found was from Amara Isabella. Their video will be linked below if you'd like to see how they answered the questions. They did the tag back in January of 2014. So it's kind of fun to look back and see what people were reading, like, I mean, what, 6-7 years ago, and how much of that has stayed the same for some of us and how much of that has changed. Part 2 of this is that the favorite book series I had at the time is not my favorite book series anymore, but I'm going to go ahead and use that same series for this video because it'll be fun to see how things have changed since I originally did the video. Now, back in the day, my favorite book series was Christine Feehan's Dark series. Now, if you have not read the series, keep in mind I will have lots of spoilers in this video. So if you don't want to be spoiled and you're still trying to work through the entire series, just prepare yourself. I will probably spoil it if you either already read the series or you don't care about spoilers, because I'm the type where like, I don't care about spoilers. You can spoil the bejeebers out of a book. I'm still going to read it because you don't get the same experience by being spoilers as you do from actually reading a book. That's just my thought process, but there's some people who hate it. So spoilers are included, okay? All right, so a little background about Christine Feehan's Dark series. She started writing it, I think, in 1999 or 2000, something like that. It was like right around the turn of the century, and I started reading it like when it was a couple years old. There are 34 books in her Dark series, and if you had asked me even 10 years ago what's my all-time favorite book series that has ever been created, I would have told you it was Christine Feehan's Dark series. Now you can imagine that in a series that's 34 books long, there are a lot of story arcs in that series because it's just so long. And I will tell you that it's no longer my favorite series because I don't care for the last story arc that she has gone on to, but I'm still going to talk about all of the things that, kind of coincide with the questions, but just keep in mind that my all-time favorite series is actually a completed series, and I'm saving that series for the completed book series tag, which I'll probably do like, I don't know, a few months from now or something. Okay, so jumping on in. Question 1 is, what is your favorite book series? And I've already answered that it is Christine Feehan's Dark series for the purposes of this video, anyway. And if you're familiar with her series, or if you're not familiar, I'll just give you kind of a quick synopsis of what this is. It's a vampire series, but it's very different than what you would consider a vampire series to be. In Christine's world, The vampires are really descended from Carpathians, which are an ancient race of people who are very similar to vampires in that they live off of blood. They can't go out during the day because it burns their skin. They live a really long time. They can be centuries and centuries old. But the twist in her story is that unless they find a life mate, then the males, after a couple hundred years, will start to lose their emotions and the ability to see in color. So their whole world turns basically gray, and they are not able to feel love or happiness or sadness. They just are kind of like walking robots in a way because they can't feel anything. And a lot of times these males will then become a vampire, which it happens by them killing someone. So they feel the rush of the kill, which makes them a vampire, and because they can't feel anything else, they continue to kill because they want to be able to feel something. And so that's kind of the premise of the vampires. So the whole goal of a male in this series is to try to find their life mate so that they don't become a vampire. And so thus brings the Dark series and this whole, finding life mates thing. And when the series first starts out, the reason why this is a big deal is because many of their females and children were killed during a big war. And so there's hardly any females, and the males are becoming discouraged because they think they're never going to find a life mate because there's no women. And so the series kind of starts at that point and goes from there. All right, now that you have the backstory of the series, question 2. How did you start reading the series, and what was the first book you read? I started reading the series at the recommendation of the librarian at the Hammond Public Library in Hammond, Indiana, back in like 2002, 2003, something like that. I was all into vampire romances at that time, and you have to remember this was back before this was like all over the place. Like now there's a million vampire romances, vampire stories. Twilight became a big deal and everybody was making their version of Twilight. But back then there wasn't that many. And so this was a new thing and it was a big deal. And she recommended book 3 of the series, which was called Dark Gold. And I loved it. And then when I went back to the library, she was telling me that she writes a whole series of these. So I started reading it and I was hooked. Question number 3 is, what is your favorite book in the series? My favorite book in the series is Dark Secret, and I don't know where that falls in the 34 books. I'm wanting to say it's like in the middle-ish, so it's like 14, 15 maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but it is the story of Colby and Raphael. And the funny thing is that 34 books in and like all these books later, it's still my favorite, and it's still the one I go back to and I read at least once a year, if not twice a year. I love their story because it is a story of the two most opposite people you could ever imagine who end up actually really falling in love. So Raphael is like several centuries old and he's bossy and arrogant and just wants to tell her what to do, and just a horrible, like mean person. And then she is actually a really strong individual who lost her parents at a young age. She is raising her younger brother and sister. She's inherited the family's like cattle ranch. So she's like in her early to mid 20s and is having to care for her brothers and sister, and take care of this ranch and be the sole like responsible guardian for them, and has all this responsibility. So obviously when she meets him and he's like telling her what to do, she's like, no, you're not telling me what to do. So you see them butt heads through like 90% of the book, because she's like, I kind of want to like kiss you and sleep with you, but I also want to beat you up because you're a jerk. And then at the end of the book, they find this like really happy medium, and you see them actually like love each other and become partners. And I really love their story. It's so well written that it's still my favorite book. And after all the other stories she has written, that one is still my favorite one. Number 4 is, what is your least favorite book in the series? And I have a few, but probably the one that I'm going to pick for this particular question is Dark Promises, which is the story of Gabrielle and her life mate. I don't even remember what her life mate is called because I don't like him and I choose not to remember his name. Through the whole series, you have Gabrielle and this guy named Gary, and they're both humans that were brought into the Carpathian world as scientists to help them figure out what's going on and why they can't have children and why there's not so many women. And over the course of the series, you see Gabrielle become a Carpathian and you see Gary become a Carpathian. So when we got to Dark Promises and we heard it was Gabby's book, we were like, well, they're going to end up together, because the whole series has been them falling in love. But then you get to the book and they don't end up together. Instead, Gabrielle ends up with this jerky ancient dude that no one likes. The first time that he's with her, he basically like kind of rapes her. Basically, he uses the life mate bond to make her want him. So at the end, she says yes, but it's essentially rape because he basically like bullies her into sleeping with him. And then there's this whole side story of this other ancient who like meets a 60-year-old grandmother and she's his life mate. And then you have like these scenes of like this really young looking Carpathian dude screwing like someone's grandma. And you're like, what is going on with, what is going on with this book? I don't understand. I don't know why. I don't know why. All I know is I don't like the book, and it was very like not Christine-ish, and I hate to talk bad about an author because I love her and I think her books are 90% of the time great, but this book just really missed the mark and I didn't like it at all. Number 5, who is your favorite character? My favorite character is Gregory Dartrazanov, who is the prince's like, I don't know, sad man. I don't know what his title is. He's like his second in command, and he is also married to the prince's daughter, and you see him pretty much throughout the entire series. He's a part of almost every book, and if he's not in the book, he's mentioned in the book. He's just such a cool character. He knows all this really cool stuff. He's a healer, like just a really neat character, and I love any scenes that she has with him. His book was actually book number 4, and it's a really good love story between him and his life mate, so you should definitely check it out if you haven't read it yet. Number 6, what character do you dislike? So I don't have one particular character, I have several, and one I already mentioned, Gabrielle's life mate, but I don't really like the Ancients. So on the story arc that she's on now, we have left the Carpathian Mountains and we're now in like this, they have these Ancients who are living in a monastery, and I just am not into the storyline. I don't care for the Ancients. I don't think that they're very likable, honestly. And so I would say the last 5 or 6 books is where I've really kind of fallen away from the series. They're not on my auto buy anymore because just kind of don't care for them. But so it's not like one particular character. It's just like I don't really like the Ancients, and therefore I don't really like the last few books, which is why this is no longer like my top favorite series anymore. Number 7, what book surprised you? Dark Wolf, which is the story of Skylar and Dimitri, because it's a book that was so anticipated that everyone was waiting for, and so many times I have seen authors let me down. But this book was amazing. It was exactly what you needed it to be. They had a beautiful love story. It moved the plot along nicely, and it ended up just being like, you were like, oh, it turned out exactly like I wanted. And it was a great book. It's very, very, very well written and just a beautiful love story. Number 8 is, what is your favorite scene in the series? I don't have one particular scene. My favorite scene tends to be when the man first meets his life mate, because it is this moment where all of a sudden he has this like rush of color come in and this rush of emotions come in, and it's just like such a feeling for him. And so it's really cool to like see how the guys react to it and how they mess up. Because they do mess up, but it's just a nice scene. So I really enjoy every book getting to that scene and just seeing how the two couples actually come together. Number 9, what book were you looking forward to that disappointed you? And definitely Zacharias de la Cruz's book, Dark Possession. I think it's like number 21 or 22. So the whole series, Zacharias is like the older brother of the de la Cruz brothers, and he sacrifices for his brothers, and he's just like really strong character, and they build up his character for books and books and books leading up to his book, and you just like fall in love with his characters. You're like, you want him to find his life mate so bad to save him, because he's deep down this good guy who, like, you know, loved his brothers and he sacrificed. And then you get to his book, and let's just say that it doesn't have that happily ever after feel, because he has like this, I'm not going to ruin the whole book, but he has like a sickness that he's not able to really feel emotions and stuff quite like a normal man would. And so you get like, it didn't have a happily ever after feel. It had like a happy for now, but things can go really wrong for you in the future kind of feel, and I didn't care for that. So I was really disappointed because I loved his character so much, and yet every book you kind of feel like he's not safe yet. You know what I mean? Like, he still can turn a vampire, and I don't know. I just didn't care for his book. I felt like it was a bit of a letdown, honestly. That's why I was so worried about Skylar and Dimitri's story, but I was pleasantly surprised that that didn't get messed up. And then question number 10 is, what book are you most looking forward to? I don't really have one because, like I said, I'm kind of not thrilled with the series lately. I don't like The Ancients. The last book, which Dark Song, I think it was called. Dark Song was a little bit better, but I just haven't loved the last 5 or 6 books. So I'm not really anticipating any particular book other than maybe Gary, if she wants to go back to Gary and actually find him a life mate at some point. But I don't know. I just haven't been thrilled. So I don't really have one. I'm just waiting to see what she decides to do with the series next. All right, you guys, that's my favorite book series tag. I would love it if you did the tag as well. The questions are going to be below in the description box so that you can copy them and do them if you want to. But there are lots of versions of the favorite book series tags. So if you've got one you've done that's like another version, let me know so I can go check it out. And I love all the tags. So hey, if you want to tag me in a tag, you go for it because I love the tags. All right, guys, I will see you back in a couple days. Hope you're having a good week. Bye.